Hey guys, I'm Janet on occasion, and today we're playing the Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. Does he have 3 eyes? Oh god, he does, doesn't he? Ooh, creepy. Dryads are weird. Anyway, this is another player spotlight. This is Indypride, but actually it's against Aerocrastic. I know, a lot of these guys just keep playing each other at the moment, which is, you know, fair enough, but this is a great game nonetheless. It is Wood Elves against the Empire, and it can be really grueling, actually. This can often be a very tough matchup for both of them. It completely depends on what kind of builds they bring. So Indypride here, you can see he's got a mixture of War Dancers and Eternal Guard and Dryads as his infantry. So this is pretty great, because cheap things will die very quickly to the Dryads. The War Dancers can punch through most things really quickly, but you don't want to waste them against things like Flagellants that you can just throw Dryads into. These guys can even punch through things like Greatswords fairly well with a bit of backup, which is pretty nice. They are very vicious, the War Dancers. And also Eternal Guard, giving great support, giving some nice anti-large, because frankly, Cavalry will just charge straight through Dryads and War Dancers, so having that covered by the Eternal Guard is great. Also, excuse me, Wild Riders with shields. Over here we have further Sisters of Thorn, Wild Riders, more Dryads, and more Wild Riders. Plenty of mobility here. And the thing is, the Wild Riders can outrun any cavalry that the Empire can bring, so they're going to do great if they can get the jump on anything. And also, there's a Glady in the air, so Prayer of Anathema is obviously going to come into effect, and having a dragon for those tasty breath attacks, it's going to do some work. But they don't hold up well against a good gun line, so you've got to be careful there. It can often be tricky. Also, there's a Spellsinger of Life to heal things up. As you can see, he's got, just Regrowth and Earthblood. So it's all about the healing with that Spellsinger. So, over here, Aerocrastic has Karl Franz actually on a Pegasus, which I think is really interesting, because, well, he's got 105 speed. And that's great. He's still got the armor piercing. He's still got he's still got the Reichland Runefang to buff his units, and that's great. I think that's interesting. You never see that. But he's quick enough to chase down a dragon or an eagle or anything like that. He's very nippy. So that's really cool to see. A duelist on a Pegasus. Usually you put things on a Pegasus to run away, but no, this is so he can catch things quicker, which I think is interesting. Also, Silver Bullets. Silver Bullets are definitely going to hurt things like a dragon. The Hammer of the Witches, the same thing there. And there's plenty of Empire Knights, and Rights Guard, and more Rights Guard, and more Empire Knights. So, a lot of cav on the other side too, and they are all armoured, and frankly, they can just run through any of this infantry, except the Eternal Guard. Though, if you can get some rear charges on the Eternal Guard, they're horrible lack of armour. Only at 40, you can kill a ton of them on the charge if you get a rear charge and rout them off. So, heavy cavalry can be very dangerous, but it isn't a match for Wild Riders, amazingly. So, also, he has a, here he is. Yep, Light Wizard, so better net things in place. You always want to be able to control the pace of Wood Elves. You can't have them kiting you around, you can't let them run around too much. So being able to net them is brilliant, because then you can actually catch them. That's really useful. Also, a ton of Spearmen and Swordsmen in the front line. Just a nice wide line to hold things in place while the cavalry, hopefully, get the work done. So, straight away, Indy is running into this area. The Dryads took the charge, and then the Wild Riders are able to spring their trap. So, these Empire Knights have been caught out, these Empire Knights have been caught out, and they can't even pull out because there's no infantry here to pull through, and they're not quicker than the Wild Riders. Oh, looks over here, these Wild Riders are backing up to lure these guys away, so we can get them some healing, which isn't a bad call, actually, because it does look like the Empire Knights got a fairly good charge there. So, giving some healing, it lets them get back on even terms. Anyway, all the infantry is starting to engage with one another. Over here, Karl Franz is trying to chase down the Glade Lord, which is awesome, because actually, apart from the Sister of Thorn, there's no ranged units. So, nothing can really back up the Glade Lord, and Karl Franz can catch him. So, he's using Prayer of Anathema defensively, which I think is really clever. Being able to just pin Karl Franz in place to escape is very wise. And of course you can heal up the dragon, and the dragon can then land around any of this infantry, because this infantry fight is losing, and Karl Franz can't get involved to support while he's just sat there netted. He can't chase the Lord, and he can't help anybody. So it makes it incredibly difficult to know what to do with Franz, even when he is that quick. Although he is actually slowed down a lot now, because the Curse of Andra here just hit all these guys. So now these knights have an even tougher time of running through, and hopefully these Dryads can deal with the Spearmen before the Spearmen kill all the Wild Riders. Because frankly, Wild Riders have very little armor themselves, so even cheap Spearmen can get a lot of damage in if they're in sustained combat. So it's very risky. Always nice to have some cheap spears. Anyway, Sister Thorn, they're still hanging back. Here, Karl Franz still trying to hunt the Glade Lord, but the Glade Lord's getting a really nice upgraded regrowth, has been netted to the ground, but there's just war dancers in here. Sure, there's a bit of cavalry, actually, the Rights Guard, but, yeah, overwhelming Wood Elf numbers there. So this may have been slightly mistimed, but it just seems like Indy thought, hey, I'm being netted, I'm going to get onto the ground immediately where I'm safe with my own guys, and it worked out beautifully. If he was netted in the air, Karl Franz could have done so much damage to that Glade Lord, and that would have been very, very painful. So brilliantly played, just to get on the ground, to stop that from being able to work. Sorry guys, I've recorded like, I think this is my 7th replay that I've recorded, to try and get stuff done for... so you guys have all these videos while I'm away in England. So yeah, my throat is really starting to suffer because of it. So sorry if I sound coarse. I can't really talk anymore. I've done too much. Anyway, here you can see Karl Franz once again catching out the Glade Lord, which is very clever. But Indy still has another Prey of Anathema, and we're going to see that again in a second. While his infantry is just cleaving through all the Empire infantry. He's just wasting Karl Franz's time so much, he can't get the utility out of him. But there's another net here. That's right, they netted each other. And once again, it was slightly mistimed, so that net, the Glady's fine. Indy's managed to get out of harm's way. He's gotten into a good position where the net no longer matters, which is so clever. Also here, the Wild Riders managed to sneak into the back, wipe out the cannon, and get out of there. They're quicker than any of this, so they can just run off now that they've done the damage. So that's the brutal thing about Wood Elves, and Indy is really taking advantage. He's just getting in there, taking out a soft target, and then leaving again. But occasionally, he's taking out the targets that are a threat to the rest of his army, because frankly, the rest of his army, unaccosted, can just walk straight through everything. So he's using the Wild Riders to get these charges into these expensive units that actually have a hope of stopping all of this wave of infantry. So here, the Dragon is coming in to support, but again, it's just to get away from Franz. You know, it really helps. Also, the Terror is kind of nice too. So, charges from 3 different groups of Wild Riders into this clump, and these Dryads are just going to hold the Swordsman back, while everything else starts just getting into the fight. Everything else needs to get involved. Although, do they? Really? It's hard to tell. So, very injured Silver Bullets. But things are looking just terrible for the Empire here. The whole Empire line is in pieces. Sure, the cannon's back online, but the Eternal Guard are upon them. Here, another net on the Glade Lord, and Franz can win this. This is a one-on-one duel he can win. But his whole army is getting decimated as soon as these guys break. Oh, and them. Oh, yep, yeah, Silver Bullet's getting charged by Wild Riders. As soon as the... Yep, they've... Okay, that's happened. Okay, there's nothing left. He has to land. He can't sit there and duel the Glade Lord, even though he could win, because there's nothing left on land. So, he breaks. Close victory. That's a close victory. That is rare to get. That is incredibly rare to get. But I'd say, in terms of the builds, I just think Indy had a massive advantage here. He was able to utilize these guys really well. But any time that it looked like Aerocrastic was going to get a good advantage on Indypride, you know, every time he trapped that Glade Lord, he wasn't quite able to capitalize, because Indy would do something a bit crafty, which I think was great. I think it's great to see. But I think Aerocrastic, he had some great choices here, but he just couldn't quite get those advantages. Every time, Indy just slipped away. So it was beautifully played by both of them, but yeah, Indy was just able to hold everything, you know, important away from his army, and all the matchups were his, basically. He just had the advantage in every single fight in that whole battle, just using that maneuverability to full effect. And you don't often see people able to capitalize on all that maneuverability. So, absolutely wonderfully played. And it's going to be great to see both of these players playing in this weekend's Everchosen tournament. So, guys, I hope you do tune into that. It is going to be wonderful. We're going to have some great, great matches. And, yeah, I'm so excited for it, frankly. And I'll be so happy to be able to rest my voice for the next few days while we're prepping for it. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.